The courtroom was tense, the kind of place where even a whisper felt too loud. It was a custody hearing, just another case in the career of Judge Rebecca Callahan. At 52, she had built a reputation for fairness and unwavering commitment to the law. But this case was about to challenge everything she believed in. In the center of the room sat a small boy, no older than 10. His name was Nathan Carter. He swung his legs nervously, his gaze darting between the arguing lawyers. Unlike other children who had passed through these halls, there was something about him, a quiet strength that made even the most hardened professionals take notice. Judge Callahan adjusted her glasses and surveyed the room. The attorneys were locked in a heated debate, throwing around terms like best interests and permanent placement. It was all standard procedure, until Nathan stood up. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. The room went silent. Even the court reporter's fingers hovered motionless over the keyboard. Judge Callahan raised an eyebrow. "Nathan," she said gently, "this isn't the time to. You're my mom." The words struck like a thunderclap. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. All eyes turned to the judge, their expressions ranging from shock to disbelief. For a brief moment, Judge Callahan's carefully constructed composure cracked. Her lips parted, but no words came out. She blinked rapidly, regaining her stoic expression. "Nathan," she said, voice firm but calm, "this is not appropriate for the courtroom. Please take your seat." Nathan didn't move. His fists clenched at his sides, his voice stronger this time. "I know you're my mom." A murmur spread through the spectators. A woman in the back leaned toward her neighbor. "Did he just say?" "No way," came the hushed reply. "She's a judge. They vet these people, don't they?" The courtroom felt electric. Judge Callahan gripped the gavel, her fingers tightening around the handle. "Order," she commanded, slamming it twice. Nathan didn't flinch. He stood firm, his small frame radiating an unshakable conviction. The judge stared at him, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. Was it confusion? Recognition? She quickly suppressed it. "Mr. Lawson," she turned to the boy's caseworker, her voice controlled. "Please manage your client." The young man rushed to Nathan's side, whispering urgently. The boy hesitated but eventually sat, though his back remained stiff, his face determined. The attorneys resumed their arguments, but the energy in the room had shifted entirely. No one was paying attention to legal jargon anymore. They were watching the silent storm brewing between the judge and the child. Judge Callahan tried to focus on the case, but her thoughts spiraled. She had presided over thousands of cases, yet this moment felt different. The boy's eyes, his expression, they tugged at something buried deep within her. A long-forgotten memory clawed its way to the surface. It was years ago. She had been young, barely 20, a college student struggling to stay afloat. A decision had been made, one she had convinced herself was right. A closed adoption. Notáis. No looking back. But now, looking at Nathan, she couldn't ignore the gnawing doubt. Was he telling the truth? The hearing continued, but her mind was elsewhere. When a lawyer asked for a ruling, she hesitated. "Sustained," she finally managed, though her voice lacked its usual conviction. During the recess, she retreated to her chambers. Pacing, she pulled up old records, her hands trembling. And then she saw it. Her name. Rebecca Callahan, listed as the biological mother of one Nathan Carter. Her breath caught. The past she had locked away was staring her in the face. Memories rushed back. The agonizing choice, the sleepless nights, the years spent wondering. Had he been happy? Had he been loved? And now, here he was, standing in her courtroom, forcing her to confront what she had buried for so long. A knock on the door made her jump. It was Mr. Lawson. "Judge," he said hesitantly. "Nathan, he won't stop asking for you." She hesitated before finally opening the door. "What did he say?" Lawson sighed. "That he just wants to talk. Just for a minute." After a long pause, she nodded. "Send him in." Nathan stepped in cautiously. He looked smaller in the dim light of her office, less defiant than before. "I'm not lying," he said softly. I know it's you. She swallowed hard. Nathan, this is complicated. I don't care, he whispered. I just want to know why. Her breath hitched. How could she explain a choice made in desperation to a child? How could she tell him that she had never stopped thinking about him? The next morning, she entered the courtroom with a weight on her shoulders but a decision in her heart. She looked at Nathan, who met her gaze with unwavering hope. Clearing her throat, she spoke, her voice softer than before. Nathan, she said carefully, why do you think I'm your mother? He hesitated. I found papers. They had your name on them. And when I saw you, I just felt it. Her chest tightened. She took a steadying breath. Nathan, she said, her voice faltering, what you're saying, it's true. A hushed silence fell over the room. Nathan's eyes filled with tears. You mean you are my mom? Yes, she whispered. Tears streamed down his face. Judge Callahan stood, stepping away from the bench. Without hesitation, Nathan ran into her arms. Gasps and whispers surrounded them, but in that moment, nothing else mattered. It wasn't a perfect ending. There were legal battles ahead, difficult conversations to be had. But for the first time in years, Rebecca Callahan knew what she had to do. She wouldn't run from her past. She would face it for Nathan. Because some truths, no matter how long they take to surface, deserve to be acknowledged.